Hi everyone, Mark Heath here again with another video looking at a few of the features of MoreLINQ. In this video I'm going to look at a few of the extension methods that deal with the count of items. So here you can see I've got a very simple string array with the names of 5 football players, and of course if we wanted to we could call players.count, which is a LINQ extension method, and get the result 5. Although obviously as it's an array we could also just ask for the length of the array. But we're using this as an example of what might be a lazy evaluated IEnumerable sequence, so we might not be able to know the length immediately. So what do these extension methods do? Well, there's an AtLeast method, and so I can give it an IEnumerable sequence and say, can you tell me if there's at least 3 elements in this? And this will return true if there's at least 3 and false if there isn't. And no surprise, we get true because there are 5 elements. And the nice thing about this is that if this was in a lazy evaluated sequence and it was having to do some work to generate each item, we wouldn't have to go further into the sequence than we need to. Likewise, we can ask if there are at most 3. So if there's more than 3, it should return false. So if we run this, and we can see at most 3 is false. We can also ask if there are exactly the number we expect. And again, this will return true if there are. And so there exactly 5 is true. Another method is CountBetween. So are there between 10 and 20? I think this is an exclusive upper bound. You might need to check it's inclusive minimum and maximum. So let's run this. I've asked, are there between 10 and 20? And there's not, so we'd expect false here. And the final 2 methods that are related to counting are called Assert Count. And so the idea of Assert Count is it will actually return a sequence. So let me just run this without running the last one, which throws an exception. If I say players.AssertCount 5, all that does is it just returns the same input sequence to me, which might seem a little bit pointless. But if I put a number that isn't 5, it will throw an exception, and it will say we expected exactly 6 elements, but there were too few elements in the sequence, and so it throws an exception. And so if you were building up a LINQ chain of LINQ methods and you wanted to not go any further if the number of elements in the list wasn't exactly what you expected, you could just put this assert count in there, and that's a nice way of just verifying your expectations. But if your expectations are met, then you can just carry on and do some more transformations of the elements in that list. So that's the MoreLINQ methods that help us looking at the count of elements in a sequence.